going, everyone? Sanjae Uchiha here. Of course, the Uchiha that Itachi forgot that went to YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. I hope Valentine's Day was was good for you guys. You know, work as usual for me. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing awesome whenever you're listening to this. But yeah, welcome back to the channel. Of course, we are a few days out from the release of Boruto Chapter 78 to the second chapter of 2023. And as we usually do here from time to time, we talk about our expectations and predictions when it comes on to the upcoming Boruto chapter. But with this video, I wanted to, start that top level real world, discussion when it comes on to this upcoming chapter, because I honestly believe that this upcoming chapter is more than just a chapter. And that sounds weird, I know, but just bear with me a little bit. The thing is, when it comes on to chapter 78, right? And apart from the hype and the expectation for the time skip, given all the information that we've gotten recently regarding Ikemoto putting out the Boruto and Kawaki time skip designs, or if it's a case where as we've seen in the previous chapter, Kawaki stealing away Naruto, all roads are leading to the time skip. But that aside, chapter 78 I think means much more than that, honestly. And if we go back to chapter 1, where of course the start of the story, where Boruto was essentially telling us, the audience, that this isn't the story of the kid who wanted to be Hokage, but for some amount of time, that kid who's now my dad, he's going to play a part in my story for just a bit, but this is still my story. And it seems like we've actually gotten to that point where the point in time, or the bits of time where Naruto was a part of Boruto's story, it seems like that's come to an end. And with that in mind, it feels like chapter 78 will be the genuine start of the Boruto manga, which is crazy to think about. That would basically mean that all that we've seen before, or up to this point, is essentially just the foundation, just the quote-unquote prequel to the story actually beginning. But I think that's genuinely the case. Chapter 78 is like this, the true spiritual start of the Boruto story. Because for the longest while, I know most of you who are in or out of the Boruto, franchise, when it comes on to social media, a lot of persons have the criticism that, okay, Naruto and Sasuke are carrying the story. Things only heat up when Naruto and Sasuke are involved, or if they're not involved, what's the sense being invested in the story? Maybe it seems like Boruto is not really able to carry the story on his own. And to an extent, I would say a lot of those criticisms are true. To an extent, I wouldn't say 100%. That would that would be disingenuous for me to say that, but to an extent that's true. And the thing is, no, Naruto is out of the story, and with Boruto's own words to us, the audience, that means that his story genuinely will be beginning with chapter 78 and beyond. And that's the interesting part, because it makes me, as a person that covers Boruto, we read it monthly, we talk about it, we like it here, all that jazz and blues, it makes me think like chapter 78 for the most part signifies not just the start of Boruto's story, but I think it signifies the point in this story at which the mainstream persons who gave Boruto a chance but dropped it like heavily and continue to clown on it to this day, I think it's going to be that point in time where they pick the story back up, or it's the call, the signal to those persons to come back and give the story a chance at that point. Because the reality is that, especially once this chapter up to chapter 77 gets adapted into the anime, the thing is, persons at that point in time will have an easier time going through the the manga arcs in the anime, if they're anime onlys, to catch up. And I think chapter 78 is a signal to those persons to come back to the franchise. Because shout out to Kyle from Vari Studios, who recently caught up the Boruto manga, but even he said it himself when we talked in the last end of month subscriber stream, that Boruto, he had the impression that Boruto was a bad series, more or less. I'm paraphrasing you, Kyle, if you're watching. But he found it not to be he found it to be enjoyable, not bad, So I think with that in mind, chapter 78 is the true spiritual start of the story, and it's the significance of it is like it's really up there, honestly speaking, because it's this point in time where Boruto, everything is going to be forced for everything that's built up, the foundation that was set with the first 77 chapters. It's time for these other characters, Boruto included especially, to be catapulted into carrying the story for themselves without the whole, I don't want to say stain, but for lack of a better term, without the stain of saying Naruto and Sasuke are the ones, like without them it doesn't make sense. Like it's the genuine start. So yeah, that's the real importance, I would say, for chapter 78. But getting into the nitty gritty when it comes on to chapter 78 itself, like it feels like we say this every month. Like after each chapter, it literally feels like anything can happen. And with Naruto out of the way, it genuinely does. I know, ranging from things like, probably Sasuke might die, to, Kawaki versus the village, to it's things with Himawari. But I personally, going into this chapter, I think a big thing that needs to happen is Kawaki and Himawari having a moment, a conflict, a scuffle, or something along the lines of that. And I did do a video when it came on to Kawaki versus, Himawari a few weeks back, and I still stick by it because at the end of the day, the whole arc of Kawaki coming to the village, one big aspect of him coming to the village was the whole, rebuilding of the vase or vase that he broke, Himawari's vase or vase. And I think having that confrontation between Himawari and Kawaki, these two characters who have somewhat of a history since Kawaki came to the village, would be appropriate. And not just from a, I guess, emotional standpoint, but characters that actually had screen time together and all of that. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, it would be interesting for that vase or vase to be broken again. That would be interesting, I think, because Kawaki making the effort to rebuild that for Himawari, that kind of really signified like his how should I put it? I wouldn't want to say desire to stay in the village, but I guess the building of his relationship with the Uzumaki household. And I think tying that into a Himawari confrontation, like something short, would be nice for us, the audience, to see in chapter 78. Because I think a lot of time will be spent on, of course, Shikamaru and the sensory team realizing that Naruto is gone, them conveying that to Boruto trying to locate, Kawaki, all sorts of madness, honestly. And I think the chapter might not delve too much in Kawaki actually having a lot of discussion with Boruto. I think it's going to end on a cliffhanger where, Boruto finally bumps up into Kawaki and they take it from there. But I think one big thing that needs to happen is the Himawari Kawaki confrontation. Like I wholeheartedly subscribe to that. If I like, honestly, I think it needs to happen, honestly. And I know maybe Kishimoto might not build on that whole, Himawari has this ridiculous amount of potential story thread. He might not build on it for this chapter, but I think it would be nice to get a bit more of that in this chapter, similar to how he's been, drip feeding us breadcrumbs when it came on to Amado over these last few years. I think he could drip feed us just a bit more when it comes on to Himawari, especially since like she hasn't had that much build up in the manga. I think combining the confrontation between Kawaki and Himawari, potentially speaking in chapter 78, with just a bit more of this potential that Damon, the arguably the strongest character, well, second strongest character, second to Shibai, I think drip feeding us that a bit more of that would be nice foundation building for what we can expect for Himawari coming for the time skip. So that would be nice in combination with the vase or the vase being broken again. I think that would be a nice symbolic touch for them to, push things into this era of conflict. Because at the end of the day, we're building up towards the flash forward that we saw well, that Boruto saw when he came on to, Sage Mode Mitsuki and Sarada and, Inoshika Cho and what seems to be a conflict with Kawaki. So we're building up towards that moment right now. So I think sparing some time for Himawari before getting into that, because the honest truth is, after any little tidbits of Himawari, no, I don't think we'll be getting anything more until after this initial conflict with, Kawaki and, the village right now. So I think chapter 70 between Himawari and Kawaki and, the sensory team getting the news and Boruto just essentially just probably bumping up and finding Kawaki by the end of the chapter, maybe after whatever confrontation that could potentially take place with Himawari. I think that's where the chapter is going to end, essentially. Maybe we could throw in just a bit of Sasuke here and there, maybe. That would be nice, because of course Sasuke has been shown as a character that can like sense where Naruto is, and with him gone, sensory team aside, I'd be surprised if Sasuke himself doesn't really realize that, yo, Naruto is gone. So right now, chapter 78, the spiritual start of the Boruto story, as I've been saying, honestly, I think all roads lead towards, the village versus Kawaki. I'm kind of curious in terms of how Code is going to be factored into all of this, honestly. But as it stands right now, I honestly don't think Code is going to be a factor like right now. Because the thing is, if we look at, hold on. All right, so the thing is, when we look at where we are now, 76, 78, we're basically nearing, with chapter 76, 77, 78, where 78 will be the second to last chapter of the current Boruto volume, volume 20. And really and truly, more than likely, it might be a case chapter 78 might finish setting the foundation for like one big massive event for chapter 79. Honestly speaking, I'm not expecting Code until the next volume. I think we need time to actually explore this build up to the flash forward scene that we actually saw. I don't expect Code to actually be a thing until near the end of volume 21, because as you guys know, my despite all the hints to the time skip coming soon, my prediction has been since this year started that we'll spend some time building up to the flash forward scene that we saw. We'll spend some time exploring the flash forward scene itself, and then we'll have to explore the fallout of that. So honestly, I could be wrong, but I don't see the time skip happening until the end of the year. Worst case, March or April, overall spring 2024. At least from a marketing standpoint, that gives Jump Festa at the end of this year something big to announce, honestly. But yeah, because it needs time to actually go through these things. But the point is, chapter 78, I think, will just finalize or finish building up any potential conflict, the foundation for it. So Himawari, Boruto finding out, Shikamaru and Sensory Company finding out that Kawaki did what he did, Sasuke finding out that he did what he did, the rest of Team 7 finding out that Kawaki did what he did, and then it's basically the downward spiral of the relationship between Kawaki and all of these characters from there. So that's what I can expect to see from chapter 78. That's just my personal prediction. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And of course, tell me if I'm spot on with the importance of chapter 78, because as I said, all the criticism, like this is the moment of truth. Chapter 78 is the start of the moment of truth for the Boruto story, because Sasuke is still there, but for how long? that is the question. How long? Honestly speaking, more than like I expect him to either die or be removed from the story, similar to Naruto. So even though it does seem like Kishimoto might have some plans for him, I mean, he was one of the characters who was able to sense Momoshiki, and you know, yeah, he was one of the characters able to see Momoshiki, and which is something he was only able to do, you know, when he had the Rinnegan. So I don't know. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it. Honestly, chapter 78 is very important, and I'm interested to see like what it's going to mean for the persons who might hear of the events of chapter 77 going into 78, and if it's the true signal for the mainstream persons to give this story another, you know, chance again. Granted, when it comes on to mainstream, the anime is a big it's a big selling card, honestly speaking. So it is what it is. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought about my thoughts and predictions when it comes on to chapter 78 and just the overall importance of it. Of course, hope you guys have an awesome day. Shout out to the new and returning subscribers. And of course, we're almost at 2,000 subscribers. Of course, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and all that cliche YouTube jazz and blues. So, yeah. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one.